Well, in this video, we continue the discussion on Bell inequalities. In the previous video, I have shown the derivation of Bell inequality as was done by Bell. In this video, we will discuss one of the example of or a thought experiment for this Bell inequality. So here we will particularly use coins, because you see the difference between classical approach versus quantum is essentially the fact of this superposition. So and coins are classical bits, you can say, because we get head or tails, but at a time we are sure that we will get head or tails. So it is like an objective reality of this coin that it will either give head or a tail in a single run. Whereas on the other hand, if we have a qubit, it will be in a superposition. You cannot say that there is a reality associated to it. So that's why we will be using these coins to show this Bell inequality, and we will see that the inequality takes a different shape. And there are several kind of these shapes that are possible for Bell inequalities. So let us start. So the setup is that there is a member C, which we call Charlie, and he distributes coins to Alice and Bob, and he also prepares a coin flipping machine. So he has a coin flipping machine, and he makes one for Alice, one for Bob. And Alice and Bob, they are supposed to perform experiment without knowing the internal working of the machine, and they are supposed to analyze the data, find out the correlations and all those things. So at every run, Alice presses a switch. Same goes for Bob. Anyone can do that. So when they press a switch, the machine they have to talk or collaborate with Charlie first to activate the machine. They have to do that before every run they make. And when the machine switches on, it asks Alice that which coin she wants to uncover. The machine presents Alice with 3 coins, and these 3 coins are supposed to be tossed and then presented, and then Alice is asked to uncover any one of them, and if she selects any one of them, suppose she wants to uncover this 3, then automatically the other coins quickly goes inside or disappears. So she cannot select more than one coin. So that is how this machine has been prepared. And now they perform certain experiment on these machine, and the first experiment is that these are the experimental results as I have written here. So she collaborates with Bob to get these results. The first is that when she performs 1000 runs, and suppose in 1000 runs she selects to uncover coin 3, then with certainty she sees that 500 are head, 500 and tails. And this same thing happens for coin 1, coin 2, coin 3. What this means is that the coins are unbiased. This is what Alice as well as Bob conclude from this experiment. Now she performs the second experiment in collaboration with Bob, and what she sees is that for every run, if she selects some coin I, which can be 1, 2 or 3, suppose it is 3, and if Alice gets head, then Bob gets tail. Bob also gets head. So there is a correlation present between the way these coins are ensembled by Charlie, or the way this machine has been made in some, or by the way Charlie activates this machine. But somehow the point is, for any coin, if Alice gets head or tail, Bob is also getting head or tail respectively. So given these two experiments which have been verified for 1,000, 10,000 runs, what they want to know, Alice and Bob want to know, is that they want to say that as this only one coin is getting allowed, why not we try to determine the configuration of two coins, which is something non-trivial, because Alice don't have access independently to two coins. Bob also don't have access to two coins because of the machine preparation. But what they think about is that suppose Alice uncovers. So suppose Alice uncovers coin 1 and she gets a head, suppose. She can use some classical communication and tell Bob that, okay, coin 1 is head, because Bob and Alice's coins give same output. Then Bob says that, okay, coin 1 is head, why don't I measure coin 2? And if he gets a head, suppose, then Bob conveys this back to Alice, and then Alice says, okay, but our coins are correlated in such a way that I am also supposed to get a head, and hence I have uncovered the configuration of two coins. This can be done for any two pair of coin, and they agree that it is a valid procedure. And still, to confirm this procedure in a better way, what they do is they write down a inequality, which is essentially the Bell inequality. So why is this a Bell inequality? Is that this is the most general inequality that this set of three coins must satisfy. So what is that inequality? It is probability that two coins, coin 1, coin 2, they will be same. They will give either head or tail, but the third coin can give head or tail. So this is the entire probability that both of the coins give same result for that event for one single run. And similarly, we can do the same thing for 1, 3. It will just be probability that there is head, or probability head, tail, plus probability tail, head, plus probability tail. Like this we can do for the third part. And you can see there are 12 different there are not different, they will be repeated obviously. There are 12 outcomes, 12 probabilities, and out of these, you see, because the distinct outcome can only be 8, because there are 3 coins, so it is 2 power 3. This will have some repeated outcome, but when we sum them, those 8 outcomes will bound to appear. They are bound to appear, and hence the probability of this sum is greater than equal to 1, because all of the 8 outcomes, the probability of all the 8 outcomes must sum to 1. You see, why the 8 outcomes are bound to appear is because whenever you have 3 coin, I can say it will be tail, head, tail, head. Whatever happens, 2 of the coin is bound to have same outcome, because these coins are deterministic. They can either have tail or have head, and there is nothing of quantum nature. So using this classical deterministic outcome, this is a valid inequality. Now so now they will just say that, well, if it follows this inequality, that means this process of determining 2 coins together is a valid process, and this will be a nice discovery that they can do using this machine. But now, so so they have to just check that this inequality holds. So what they have to do is that they have to perform an experiment where they perform this kind of a local communication where Alice uncovers one coin, relays it to Bob, Bob uncovers another coin, relays back to Alice, and Alice gets two same. And over a series of 1,000 such runs, they have to do this same thing. So if they have to find P12 same, this is one of the run that they must perform, and they have found that okay, this run gave it same, some other run will give it different, but over a 1,000 run, they have to just calculate how many runs are there where using this relay they got same outcome, that is head head or tail tail. So when they do that, to their surprise they found that it is 1/4. Now why is this a surprise? Because for this procedure repeated for 1-2 coin, 2-3 coin and 1-3 coin for any two pair gave us the outcome 1/4. That means out of 1,000 trials, 250 of them rendered same result. This means that the sum of the probability is actually less than 1, that is 3/4, and hence the result is not classical. That means there is some problem with the coins, the problem with this correlation with the system, the way the system is flipping the coin. It is not at all something trivial coin flip. And so they ask Charlie about what is the problem with this system. To which now comes the important part where quantum mechanics appears and why we cannot think that quantum mechanics is simply this choice of random variable without superposition or presence of some hidden variable. So this is what Charlie says. So what Charlie does is that whenever a event is conducted or a run happens, so at every run Charlie creates these singlet states that we have been discussing by some decay procedure, such that because of conservation of angular momentum there is an inherent classical correlation that is coming from this angular momentum conservation, such that if a particular axis is chosen, then if Alice gets plus, Bob gets minus. This is what we know from this spin approach. Now, so what Charlie does is that he prepares these singlets and puts them in the machine to activate the machine. And the machine, when it asks for this which coin you want to uncover, if a particular coin is selected, the machine performs a measurement over the corresponding axis that is present inside the machine. So essentially the machine has different Stern-Gerlach apparatus oriented along different axes. Now what happens is that if about an axis we get +1, the machine encodes it to head and -1 to tail for Alice. But for Bob, what the machine does is that it just encodes +1 to tails and -1 to heads. So this is what I am trying to say. So there are 3 axes for both Alice and Bob, and the axis orientation is same for Alice and Bob. And whenever there is a particular outcome, it gets encoded to head or tail following this procedure, which is different for Alice and Bob. In this sense, what does it mean to say that P12 is same? And it is quite easy now to answer that. It is simply that, well, 1 means x is 1, that is A1 axis, some axis A1, and 2 means x is 2. But without loss of generality, we can say that the computational basis coincide with x is 1, and we can write psi in x is 1. And same means both Alice and Bob should get head or both should get tail. Getting head means Alice getting a +1 and Bob getting a -1. Getting tail means Alice getting a this is tail for Alice and this is tail for Bob. This is head for Alice, this is head for Bob. And the mod square is the probability as per quantum mechanics. And this is nothing but what we have been using again and again. These probabilities were there in the second video of Bell inequality. And finally, it gives us the answer cos square theta by 2. And now all we need to do is fix the axis orientation that Charlie must have fixed beforehand. And it is A1 and A2 are the two Stern-Gerlach axes oriented at 120 degrees, so that 120 by 2 is 60 degree, and that gives us 1 by 4. So that means inside the machine there are three axes, such that this 360 degree of solid angle of the Bloch sphere is divided into 120, 120, 120. And these axes are the axes of measurement whenever we select a particular coin. And in this way we can see that the probability is actually less than 1. That is in contrast to the classical part. So that's all for this video. In this video we saw this Bell inequality as applied to a thought experiment. So in the next video we'll talk about this CHSH inequality and CSHS game.